Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, like you know, where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream.
It's hard for me being that young and being in the industry and not knowing where to turn, and everyone, you know, telling me they love me and, you know, just turn their back on you in a second. So.
You know, they grew up together and, you know, they loved each other, but they never had that, you know, they never had a relationship, but they had come into that age where now that was a possibility.
You've heard rumors, you've seen the headlines, but you've never heard it like this. For years, Justin Bieber and Jaden Smith have stood at the intersection of fame, youth, and power. Two young stars who were launched into the spotlight before they could even drive. They had the world watching, the music industry behind them, and the most powerful names in entertainment taking a special interest in their careers. On the surface, it looked like a dream come true. But behind the scenes, it was something much stranger, something that's only now starting to come to light. Justin and Jaden were not just pop culture fixtures. They were part of a much larger machine, a system that operated behind closed doors, fueled by influence, intimidation, and silence. And at the heart of this shadowy circle were names that carry serious weight: Diddy, Clive Davis, and yes, even Will Smith. Now the silence is breaking. Justin and Jaden aren't just dropping hints. They're calling out the connections that always felt too strange to be coincidental. The late-night meetings, the mentorships that felt more like control, the unspoken rules that kept them tied to certain people and places. And the most disturbing part? Will Smith wasn't just another celebrity watching from the sidelines. He was deeply involved. Not just as Jaden's father, but as someone who appears to have been embedded in this circle of power and secrecy. People used to write this off as Hollywood being Hollywood. Strange friendships, blurred boundaries, powerful people looking out for each other. But now, with everything that's being said, that excuse no longer holds. Because what's being exposed feels far more calculated, far more intentional, and far more dangerous. This isn't just about bad decisions or questionable parenting. It's about a web of relationships that spans decades. It's about a culture that preys on the young, manipulates their paths, and silences their pain with money and fame. Diddy and Clive Davis have long held reputations as gatekeepers. But when you start to trace the connections between them, Will Smith, and the kids who came up in their orbit, the picture that emerges is hard to ignore. Justin and Jaden have tried to speak out before, though many missed it. Their music, interviews, and cryptic posts have all hinted at deeper pain and frustration. But now the dots are connecting, and what they're revealing is disturbing on a level that demands attention. This is not just a Hollywood exposé. This is a story about control, about being groomed, misled, and locked into relationships where saying no wasn't an option. It's about how fame is used as bait, and how silence is bought in exchange for success. If you think this is just celebrity gossip, you're not paying attention. What's coming out now could shake the entire foundation of the industry. Let's pull the mask off. Completely. By now, it's no secret that Justin Bieber and Jaden Smith both had childhoods that were anything but normal.
Where'd you like to go?
Wherever you want to go.
So check this out, yo. Justin, you ever seen the movie 48 Hours? Right now, he's having 48 hours.
Fame hit them early, fast, and hard.
As soon as you turn 16, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna let you rock this every time.
Right here?
It's gonna be yours. So, every time you come in LA, it's a little dusty, you know. Front shot.
They were thrown into the industry's deepest waters long before they even knew how to swim. While Justin's connection to Diddy has been talked about for years, often with raised eyebrows and questions that no one wants to answer out loud, Jaden's link to the same man has always seemed murky. But it shouldn't be. Because if you look a little closer, the pieces are all there. The connection between Diddy and the Smith family isn't random. It's rooted in years of history, power games, and personal tension that most people never realized was even happening. Go back to the early 2000s. This was peak celebrity culture. Everyone was watching every move of the entertainment elite. And back then, Diddy and Jennifer Lopez were the couple. Red carpets, paparazzi madness, magazine covers, they were untouchable. But behind the scenes, things were already unraveling. Their relationship was explosive. Too much attention, too many egos in the room, and a lot of talk about who was circling whom. This is where Will and Jada come in. At that time, Will Smith was already one of the biggest stars in the world. Jada was holding her own as a respected actress and a rising force behind the scenes. Together, they were a power couple in their own right. And for whatever reason, Diddy believed they had their sights set on Jennifer Lopez. Whether it was business, friendship, or something more personal, he felt threatened. The rumors started to swirl that Will and Jada were getting a little too close to J.Lo, and Diddy didn't like that one bit. In fact, it got so serious that there were whispers Diddy wanted to fight Will Smith over it. Not metaphorically, literally. A face-to-face confrontation. The type of scene you wouldn't believe unless you saw it for yourself. And this is stuff that is corroborated by Puffy's ex-bodyguard, Gene Deal.
Tell me the story about how Puffy wanted to fight Will Smith over Jennifer Lopez.
Oh, man. We were at a birthday party that I think either Matt Damon was giving for Ben Affleck. It was just a little gathering. It was at the Four Seasons. Will Smith and his sister and her husband, we were all sitting on this side of the room. Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Jennifer Lopez, Puff, Will Smith, and Jada, and it was sitting on the other side of the room. So I know Puff so well that he stood up. When he stood up, he walked and did his own some kind of way, like, and then he went like this, like that. I went over towards him. I know to go over there towards him. So I go over towards him, and he said to me, he said, "Yo, I think Will and Jada is trying to scoop up Jennifer. I want you to stay close, because I'm going to snuff him." I said to myself, Will Smith gonna beat the shit out you. Now, Puff can scrap now, but I don't think he could beat Will Smith. You know what I'm saying? Well, he can scrap. You know what I'm saying? So then, he said that shit. So, I didn't go back over there where Will Smith's sister and her husband was. I stayed about, if he snuffed Will, I could move slow enough that Will could probably get 2 or 3 punches back in. Yeah, but that shit was funny. He thought that Jada and Will was coming on too strong to Jennifer, making advances.
Diddy was angry, paranoid, and territorial. In his mind, Will and Jada weren't just getting friendly with his girlfriend. They were stepping on his territory. And if there's one thing Diddy has never tolerated, it's anyone challenging his position, whether in music, in business, or in his personal life. Now think about the kind of man who would hold that kind of grudge. Diddy doesn't forget. He doesn't forgive easily. And when he feels disrespected, he doesn't just let it go. So what happens when someone like that sees an opportunity years later? When Will and Jada's son starts moving through the same industry pipelines, when Jaden starts entering the same circles Diddy controls, do you really think he was going to keep it professional? Or was this his chance to gain the upper hand? Because make no mistake, Jaden didn't stumble into Diddy's world by coincidence. That relationship was allowed. It was created. It was curated. And it put Jaden in a position where he could be influenced, guided, and possibly even used. Not just as another young artist under Diddy's wing, but as the son of two people Diddy had a complicated history with. The energy was never neutral. There was baggage there. And Jaden might have been too young to understand it, but Diddy wasn't. And this is where things get dark. When Justin Bieber talks about the things he saw and experienced during his time around Diddy, the tone changes. The smile fades. There's pain behind the words. Pain that suggests those years weren't just about career development. They were about control, power, and access. So when Jaden enters that same space, people should be asking harder questions. Why was Diddy suddenly close to both of these boys? Why were they being drawn into his orbit at such young, vulnerable ages? It all starts to look like more than just mentorship. It starts to look like a strategy, like a long play, like settling a score from years earlier, using the next generation as pawns in a game no one else could even see. Will and Jada may have thought they were keeping Jaden safe, but the doors they opened and the people they allowed into his world may have led him straight into the hands of someone who never forgot what he thought they did to him. This isn't just about celebrity gossip or industry beef. This is about how powerful people move behind the scenes, how old grudges can linger, and how kids like Jaden get caught in the fallout. And once you start to see it for what it really is, the whole timeline starts to feel a lot more sinister. There's a pattern here. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Everyone remembers how Justin Bieber's rise to fame was shaped by a few key players. Usher is often praised as the one who discovered him, the one who gave him a shot. But as time has gone on, people have started to question what that mentorship really meant. Usher was one of the earlier kids who got into Diddy's hands.
My brother right here from day one, we used to wake up and, pause, but like, check this out. Back in the days when he was like 10 and I was a little bit old.
Very quickly, then Justin was also in Diddy's hands. Literally. Attending parties with grown men, staying at his house, being passed around the industry like he was some shiny new toy instead of a teenage boy. And the question always lingers, why? Why would Usher guide Justin into that kind of environment? What was really happening behind those doors? Who was benefiting from it? Now, those same questions are starting to circle around Jaden Smith. Because if Justin was handed to Diddy by Usher, then who handed over Jaden? According to growing rumors, it was none other than his own father, Will Smith. It sounds outrageous at first. But the more you look, the more it makes sense. Will was already deep inside the entertainment world. He wasn't just an actor, he had connections. He knew where the real power was. And many believe he wasn't just navigating that world. He was working for it, playing his role, keeping the machine running. Some even go as far as to say he was acting as one of Diddy's minions, a willing participant who knew what the game was and played it anyway. The whispers say he didn't just allow Jaden to enter that circle. He delivered him, and the energy around it feels different. This wasn't a random mentorship. It wasn't a business move. It was personal, calculated. Like a transaction was being made behind the scenes. One that placed his son directly in the hands of someone with a long history of controlling and exploiting young talent. Think about it. Will was around Diddy for years. They ran in the same circles, attended the same parties, smiled for the same photos. He knew who he was and what he was about. There is no way he didn't understand the environment he was sending his son into. And yet, Jaden ended up right there, in the same world that swallowed up Justin, the same world that people are finally starting to realize wasn't about opportunity. It was about control, about grooming, about access. This isn't just a theory. It's a repeating pattern. First, Justin, then Jaden. Two boys from powerful families, both pushed into fame early, both linked to Diddy, both surrounded by adults who should have been protecting them. But instead, it feels like they were positioned, offered up. And the more you follow the trail, the more it starts to look intentional. And if Jada and Will really were that close to Diddy, if she really understood how this system worked, then handing Jaden over wasn't a mistake. It was a choice. And one that may have changed the course of his entire life. Because what happened to Justin didn't stay with Justin. It happened again. And maybe the parents were never a bystander at all. Maybe they were part of the system from the start. And to understand how Jaden Smith ended up in the orbit of someone like Diddy, you have to look at what was happening inside his own home. Because the truth is, Will and Jada's marriage was never as perfect as they tried to make it seem. From the outside, they looked like Hollywood royalty, smiling on red carpets, talking about empowerment and family values in interviews. But behind closed doors, it was chaos.
He said that you cannot make a person happy. And I thought that was a real deep idea. You can make a person smile, you can make a person feel good, you can make a person laugh, but whether or not a person is happy is deeply and totally and utterly out of your control.
The cracks were always there. Whispers of infidelity, separations, and unconventional arrangements followed them for years. And Jada never really hid it. In fact, she leaned into it. From her interviews to her Red Table Talk confessions, she painted a picture of a marriage that was more complicated than committed. She admitted to being in an entanglement with August Alsina, a much younger man, while still married to Will.
You and I were going through a very difficult time.
Yeah.
And we decided...
I was done with your ass.
Yeah, you kicked me to the curb.
I was done with you.
Yeah.
Marriages have that, though. Marriages have that.
Yeah, we basically, we broke up.
And then what did you do, Jada?
Well, you know, I think from there, you know, as time went on, I got into a different kind of entanglement with August.
That one word, entanglement, told the world everything it needed to know. There's talk that Jada didn't just look the other way when it came to Jaden's exposure to certain influences. She, along with Will, may have led him there herself.
Both bisexual, they do weird things in their house, and young men have left their house screaming to get away from them and their mentors.
Rumors are flying that she introduced her son to psychedelic drugs, not as a rebellious experiment or a slip-up, but as a deliberate choice. Not only did she support his use of substances like mushrooms, she openly celebrated it as a healing tool, publicly, on camera, with the whole family watching.
It started as pure curiosity.
Yeah.
The 23-year-old added that he started using the drugs out of curiosity, and doing so led to his understanding of what ego was for the first time.
It was always in my head talking, telling me what I was and what I wasn't, and for the first time I had like a ego dissolution where I was like, that was the moment that really changed me. You get to a place in your life where you're blocked by something, whether it's a trauma, whether it's your emotions, your ego, not being able to express yourself, and then I feel like psychedelics are a way to tear down that wall and see what's beyond it. Doing it guided with people that are professionals, I feel like really increases the chances of having that mystical.
In one now infamous episode of Red Table Talk, Jada sat with Jaden and her mother to talk about their personal use of plant-based hallucinogens. This wasn't a warning or a cautionary tale. It was framed as a breakthrough, a spiritual awakening. Jaden casually brought up his interest in mushrooms, and Jada didn't flinch. She leaned in. She encouraged it.
You gotta wanna do it. This is not play. Yeah. And you gotta be really willing to confront some hard stuff.
Yeah.
And it's very healing, and it's changed my life.
She shared her own story of turning to psychedelics during a low point in her life, describing it as the only thing that finally helped her climb out of years of depression. And just like that, it became part of the family narrative, a new kind of normal. Jaden, still incredibly young at the time, followed her lead. He spoke about ego death, emotional breakthroughs, and mystical experiences. It all sounded poetic, even inspiring, until you remember who he is. A celebrity kid already under intense pressure. A son caught in the crossfire of his parents' chaotic marriage. A young man being exposed to the kind of mental and emotional unraveling most people spend a lifetime trying to avoid. And who was guiding him through it? His mother. And when Jaden says it all started with her, that she was the first one in the family to walk through that psychedelic door, it adds another layer to an already disturbing story. Because if your own mother is the one introducing you to something so heavy, so consuming, and calling it healing, who do you turn to for protection? Who draws the line? But now Jaden is done keeping his dad's secret. And what he's saying now isn't just about Justin, it's about his own family too. He starts off with the stuff people already sort of knew, but never really wanted to face. How Justin Bieber got caught up in something that wasn't right. How as a teenager, Justin got pulled into Diddy's world, a world built on smoke and mirrors, gifts and...
My father? You want to hear? Oh, really? See, my parents never gave me the song.
Okay.
So why don't you give me the
I feel uncomfortable right now.
Oh.
Why do you want to know this from a 15-year-old boy? That's pretty weird.
Everyone thought Diddy was just another music mentor, but Jaden saw it differently. He saw the manipulation, the grooming, the way Justin's boundaries were slowly erased under the guise of mentorship, and Diddy let everyone do it to him, a lot of other celebrities.
Violated right now.
At first, Jaden tried to convince himself it was all part of the business, that this was just how it worked. But the older he got, the clearer it became. There were too many red flags.
I'm good. How are you?
All right, young brother, everything's good? Selling out arenas and everything? Starting to act different, huh? You ain't been calling me and hanging out the way we used to hang out.
Too many moments that didn't sit right. Why was a grown man spending 48 hours straight with a teenage boy? Why was he offering him access to luxury cars and million-dollar homes like it was candy? Why did it all feel so transactional? Now Jaden is saying what everyone else was too scared to say, that this wasn't mentorship, it was control. And Justin wasn't the only one. Because Jaden says he wasn't just watching it happen. He was part of it too. He remembers being around Diddy as a kid, the parties, the conversations, the atmosphere, and he remembers feeling uneasy, like he was being watched, like he was being sized up. And as strange as that was, what made it worse was seeing who Diddy was always standing next to, his own father.
Are you okay? God, this is ridiculous.
That's when things got confusing for Jaden. Because it wasn't just Diddy whispering in his ear. It was Will Smith, too. Laughing with him. Going to parties with him. Acting like it was normal. Like there was nothing weird about how close they were, but to Jaden, it felt wrong. It felt like the lines were blurred. He says he started to question everything. Why was Will so close to someone with this kind of energy? Why did he keep bringing Diddy around? Why did it feel like his dad knew things but didn't care? Or worse, didn't want to stop it? Jaden says the relationship between Will and Diddy was too close for comfort. Always private, always off the radar. And when the cameras were off, it only got stranger. Jaden admits there were times he felt like he was being passed between them. Not literally handed off, but emotionally sidelined. Watched, controlled, handled. He says he didn't have the words for it back then. He just knew he didn't feel safe. And now, as more footage resurfaces, as more lawsuits are filed, and as more names start getting dragged into the light, Jaden's beginning to understand the bigger picture. This wasn't just bad parenting. This wasn't just Hollywood chaos. This was a system. One that his dad might have helped protect. One that nearly swallowed Justin. Jaden talked about how things got so bad that Justin was breaking down because of what his dad and Puff would do to him.
them to the greatest stress.
His blunders were public. In 2014, the young star's behavior triggering multiple tabloid-filled run-ins with the law, including a DUI arrest.
And a lot of other people have also spoken up about what Diddy did to Justin as well.
And they used to bring him back to the mansion. They was bringing those young girls to Diddy, his own sons. And that's an inside fact. There's gonna be a lot more lawsuits come out, bro. A lot more lawsuits. There's gonna be a lot more things to come. Watch after this trial and he gets his time. There's gonna be a lot of other things come out.
Gene Deal.
And now, finally, Jaden is saying it out loud. Not just for himself, not just for Justin, but for every kid who got pulled into something they never signed up for. Every young star who was handed off to the wrong people by the ones who were supposed to protect them. Because it wasn't just Diddy doing the damage. It was the silence around him that let it happen. And Clive Davis. That's the name people don't say out loud enough. Jaden says Clive was the architect, the one who built the rooms everyone wanted to get into. The man behind the curtain who held the keys to fame and silence. And Diddy was one of his most loyal students. Whatever Clive taught him, Diddy learned it well. How to own people, how to erase them, how to turn stars into puppets and call it business. Jaden watched it happen to Justin. A kid just like him. Young, bright, full of hope. And then suddenly surrounded. Isolated, owned. Diddy offered Justin cars, homes, access, but none of it came free. Jaden says he saw how Justin changed, how he pulled away, how something inside him got shut off. That spark gone, like someone had flipped a switch. And now Jaden is connecting the dots. The same men who were once called mentors were really architects of destruction. They handed out contracts like shackles. They masked control as opportunity. And worst of all, they passed kids between them like projects. Jaden says it wasn't just a mistake that he and Justin both ended up under Diddy's influence. It wasn't a coincidence. It was a strategy. Grooming disguised as guidance. Silence in exchange for success. And when you finally break free, they try to erase you, make you the problem, paint you as unstable. But Jaden isn't unstable. He's awake. It's no accident that Diddy has managed to survive decades of scandal without facing real consequences. The deeper you look, the more it becomes clear that his longevity in the industry isn't about talent or luck. It's about protection. And at the center of that protective shield sits Clive Davis. Clive isn't just a music executive, he's a gatekeeper. A figure so deeply embedded in the business that he practically designed the blueprint for who wins and who disappears. Many believe it was Clive who opened the doors for Diddy early on and taught him how to hold power in a way that can't be touched. Not by lawsuits, not by the media, not even by public outcry. Diddy's ability to stay afloat despite mounting accusations says more about the system than it does about him. This isn't just about a single man. It's about the structure that protects men like him. A structure built on loyalty, silence, and manipulation. Clive Davis is a name that keeps coming up whenever you try to trace the roots of that system. He's not just an executive, he's a shield. And according to voices like Jaguar Wright, that shield is what's kept Diddy from ever being held fully accountable. Jaguar has been vocal in saying that Diddy was not only mentored by Clive, but also introduced to circles where darker forces operate freely, where trafficking, manipulation, and ritual are rumored to exist just beneath the surface of fame. She claims this access wasn't earned through talent, but through compliance and silence. That's how the game is played. If you want power, you have to serve it first.
Nobody want to talk about why R. Kelly's bus was parked in Clive Davis's driveway, why his tour bus was parked in Clive Davis's driveway at the house where the went down between Chris and Rihanna. Don't nobody want to talk about why it was filled with video girls who were being...
Justin Bieber, in his own way, has begun to speak to this too. He's talked about being surrounded by people who said they loved him while doing nothing to protect him. He's alluded to a machine that turns vulnerable kids into products and tosses them aside when they're no longer useful. And he's made it clear that this didn't just happen. It was allowed. It was orchestrated. Protected from the top down.
A lot of people have been questioning, well, she doesn't really know him. She has no knowledge of him. She doesn't have a picture with him. I'm smarter than Claudia Jordan. I would never take a picture with the devil. Everyone knew he was the devil. He's been the devil for 30 years.
Diddy, according to both Wright and comedian Cat Williams, isn't just a celebrity playing the role of mogul. He's a facilitator, a recruiter, someone who's used his access and influence to pull others into the same trap. Cat didn't hesitate to include Will Smith, Steve Harvey, and others in the same breath, naming them as participants in a much larger network that benefits from keeping the truth buried. Mel Gibson has started echoing some of these same warnings. Long before Sound of Freedom came out, he gave interviews that raised red flags about what he saw when he entered Hollywood. He described it as a place where demons wear designer suits and everyone's smiling while the real horror happens behind the curtain. Now, with renewed interest in his older interviews, people are beginning to connect the dots between Gibson's warnings, Wright's testimony, Bieber's trauma, and the network of silence that protects men like Diddy. At the core of all of this is a disturbing pattern, one that suggests Diddy didn't just survive the industry, he was groomed by it, shaped by the very forces that he now uses to shape others. Artists under his label have been shelved, dropped, or chewed up and discarded. Promising careers ruined, talent suffocated, and culture itself distorted by the pursuit of profit over principle. The real horror isn't just what's been done, it's who helped make it possible. The industry loves to talk about accountability, but rarely looks in the mirror. Because if it did, it would have to reckon with Clive Davis, with the executives behind the scenes, with the reality that some of the most celebrated figures, such as Will, Puffy, and more, are the ones who have caused the most damage. Now, Jaden has made it increasingly clear that he doesn't respect that game. He's openly talked about preferring Tupac over his own father. He's tweeted about dating Tyler, the creator, without ever flinching, a level of honesty Will could never match. And it's not hard to see why. Jaden grew up in a home where secrecy was the foundation, where his father could rage at him for being too open while keeping his own alleged double life hidden behind a Hollywood smile and a carefully curated image. And let's not forget, Tupac and Diddy were enemies. Jada Pinkett Smith's deep connection to Tupac has long caused tension in the Smith household. Even Oprah got Will to admit that he felt threatened by the bond Jada shared with the late rapper. It's almost poetic, then, that Will would gravitate toward Diddy, the man most associated with Tupac's downfall. That connection feels less like a coincidence and more like an attempt to erase or rewrite a part of Jada's past, a past Will could never live up to. At this point, fans aren't just speculating, they're connecting the dots. Will and Diddy, the parties, the secrecy, the broken relationships, the young men who left screaming, the immunity, the silence, and the trail of insiders who have finally decided to speak. As Jaden continues to peel back the layers of his family's public persona, the real question becomes, how deep does it go? How many more stories are locked away behind closed doors, protected by power, and hidden behind the false glow of fame? Because what started as rumors now looks like something far darker, a system that doesn't just tolerate secrets, it thrives on them. So, what do you think? Comment down below and let us know. If you liked this video, click the subscribe button and hit the bell icon to be the first to see my next video. I post updates like this every week where I uncover the secrets of your favorite celebrities.